a short exhortation on what's going on with Donald Trump. And it's really not what's going on with Donald Trump, it's what's going on in the country. I'm not going to make this a long thing. Hopefully you all understand that Donald Trump is running for president. He's running right now, he's vying to become the Republican candidate for president. And it seems like the whole world is against him. Michael Savage is not against him. He's actually for him. Rush seems to be neutral. Rush has not come against him at all. And seems to be giving a fair presentation of what's going on. But the whole political scene seems to be against him, including Fox News. And the Fox News debate, the first Republican debate that was run by Fox News, I did a commentary on it, and I have to tell you that at the time that I did the commentary, I didn't see as deeply as I see now. That I saw Brett Baier come against him, I saw Chris Wallace come against him. For some reason, I was blinded to Megyn Kelly. At one point, I said, she was okay, and then towards the end of my commentary, I said, well, I don't know about Megyn Kelly. But somehow, I was just blinded to her. I think what she did was even worse than what Chris Wallace and Brett Baier did. And then I didn't, what I'm trying to say, but my whole point today, I don't want to make this a long thing. My whole point is the next day, or next couple of days, I turned on Fox News. A lot of people are not watching Fox News anymore. But I'm not into punishment. I'm not into resisting what I want to do to punish somebody, because if I have to resist what I want to do, it's most likely not God. And I think that Fox News is still better than CNN or any of those other stations. So I turned on Fox News. I think it was O'Reilly, but it wasn't O'Reilly. Either it was O'Reilly and someone was pinch hitting for him, or it was the morning show. Maybe it was the morning show. And he put up the guy in the morning show, the same guy that got offended when Donald Trump called John Luntz a slob. He shouldn't name call, he shouldn't name call. But John Luntz, I mean, in all fairness, I saw John Luntz's interview of Donald Trump, and he was out to get him. And now, there's a difference between asking hard questions on your policy, hard questions on who you are and what you're going to do for the country, and asking an inappropriate question that is designed to make you look bad in front of the people. And that's what John Luntz did, okay? So he called him a slob. I mean, he shouldn't be doing that, in my opinion. But nothing happens in a vacuum. You know, for many years in this ministry, because you were all, at the beginning, you were all Pharisees, and I was Pharisee, meaning you were all people that knew how to control yourself when you were mad at somebody. And I was the only one losing it. And what was happening here was that I would start yelling right away, and when it was one of you who were here at the beginning and you didn't understand that you had done something wrong, all you saw was me yelling, and you decided something bad about me. And I had to learn how to teach you that I didn't start yelling in a vacuum. Yelling was wrong. Calling people's names is wrong. But I wasn't yelling in a vacuum. I didn't just wake up one morning and say, well, I'm going to yell at you, and you didn't do anything wrong, and you just have to sit there because I'm yelling at you when you're innocent, you know. And then it was just the spirit of pride that would make you even think that. And so I had to learn to calm down, to speak in a normal voice and explain to you what you did that was wrong, that upset me so much. So we don't want to be Pharisees when it comes to Donald Trump now. He shouldn't be calling people names. He should stop doing that. But when he called John Luntz a slob, let's not ignore the fact that John Luntz had a position of authority over him. He was interviewing him, and he used his power to make him look bad. And Donald Trump manifested and called him a slob. So let's look at the whole picture, okay? Let's not just look at the man calling someone a slob. And that's our challenge as sons of God, to understand that when somebody's attacking, well, the attack is wrong, but you really need to look at the whole picture, see? And you need to impute guilt. This is what the Son of God does. You need to impute guilt to the one who's manifesting openly, and you also need to impute the guilt to the person who provoked him, if he indeed was provoked by sin. We need to recognize the passive sin and the aggressive sin, okay? So the whole purpose of this exhortation was to share with you what I saw on this. I think it was Fox News morning show, and it just, it just really just left me speechless. Now, I've known intellectually that what's going on in this country is that a ruling class has developed that can be likened to the British aristocracy or the French aristocracy. We're supposed to have a representative government where the people elect representatives and the representatives go to Washington and do the will of the people. But something has gone terribly wrong. The ruling class, they've made themselves very rich. You know, they have rules in Washington that have allowed them to become very rich, and they've become a special class of people. They can do things that the rest of the people can't do, such as insider trading. And they go to Washington, they become very rich, and they stay there. They're supposed to be there just for a couple of terms, but they stay there. They make it a life career, and they have seized power. And what's happening in Washington today and in local governments is that the elected officials of the people are not doing the will of the people. They're doing whatever they want to do, and they're motivated by their own desire for power and wealth. And that's what's going on in this country today. See, and I've known that intellectually. But what I saw in the morning show, what hit me right between the eyes, was the warfare, the mental and spiritual warfare going on between the people of this country and the new aristocracy. Not only the people holding power in Washington, but the educated people. And I've known this too, that there's also risen up an academia, a class of educated people, educated in the social sciences, which were initiated by, I think, by Lenin or by Marx, Karl Marx, and that what's taken over the academia is a group of people that claim that their research and their knowledge based on the social sciences has more weight than what God has to say. And now they're ruling from academia, saying that people in many instances don't even know how to take care of their own children. And they're relegating the common man to children, while this class that comes from academia are the parents. So between the people that have stolen, that are stealing the power from the people in Washington, and the people in academia who are using witchcraft and mind control to convince people that they don't even know how to raise their own children. When you used to learn from your mother how to nurse a baby or how to feed your children or how to take care of them, now the young people don't even want to listen to their parents. They want to go to the books and the doctors and all of this idolatry for people that are educated by the mind of man. See? And I've known all of this. But it wasn't until I saw this morning show, see, where the guy who was running this segment had two pundits. They call them pundits. Very intelligent people. I think they were both from Washington. They're not elected people. I don't even remember what they were. They had held this office in the past, or some kind of political experience from the past. So they didn't have power today, but they were pundits. They were on the inside. They know all about politics, see? And we don't know anything, you see. The people don't know anything. I actually saw a lecture once between the head of this one university in the whole country that I believe doesn't take money from the federal government. And he interviewed someone, again, a pundit. I don't know if he had an office or not. And the debate was that the one man said that we the people, we're not intelligent enough to know and make choices of what's going on in the world today, that everything's just become too complicated, and the average man is just not intelligent enough to make the right choice. And then the head of this university, I'm sorry, but I don't remember names, said, yes, according to the Constitution and according to God, the people are capable of making the choices, and that was the debate. My whole point in telling you that there has risen up a whole elite class that can be likened to the aristocracy of England and France, that have decided that they need to run the country and that they need to take care of us, because we're not smart enough to take care of ourselves. I've known all of this intellectually. It was the warfare that hit me between the eyes on this morning of watching the early show, whatever the name of the show is. It's not the early show anymore, Fox and Friends or something like that. And so they had these two pundits. And the big issue was, who is qualified to be president. See? Like Barack Obama is qualified to be president, but that's besides the point. Who is qualified to be president? And they both gave their opinions as to who would be qualified as a man. Yeah, who would be qualified? It wasn't about policy. They weren't talking about policy at all. See? And then after they both gave their opinions, it was just, well, who do you think is going to be the candidate? And neither one of them, Trump was not even mentioned, brethren. They're killing him by ignoring him, or they're trying to kill him by ignoring him. It's mind control of the highest order of witchcraft. It's been used on me personally, so I know all about it. Authorities in my life have used it against me. Ignoring somebody is the highest order of witchcraft. And the two of them stood up there in their three-piece suits with their nice shiny ties, you know, and declared to the people, and they declared to we the people, you don't know enough who to elect for president. Trump is up to like 30% or 30-something%. You don't know what you're doing, you know. And we're going to ignore your choices and tell you who you should vote for. And it hit me between the eyes, the depth of the witchcraft, the depth of the war between the ruling class and we the people. We're down to the wire. And what I saw happening was hopefully exposure on a level that the common people will recognize it, because many don't. They just don't know what's going on. They just don't know what's going on. But Donald Trump, okay, is now forcing the issue. Who is going to elect who is going to choose the candidate for the Republican Party? And who's going to elect the next president? The people or the ruling class? Who's going to do it? See? And then what came to me was, well, we the people, we still have power because they're terrified. Just to put these two men up there, to ignore the front runner, they're terrified. So there's still some power left in the vote. See? Because they're terrified to be using these wicked methods. It's witchcraft. And that was what hit me between the eyes. We're in a civil war between the aristocracy and the people. You know, that was what brought about the French Revolution, which was a bloodbath. They killed all the aristocrats and the lawyers. And that's what I wanted to share with you. You need to see the warfare, and you need to know what's going on, and you need to see the mind control. And you need to be rejoicing and praising God for Donald Trump. I believe that if God wants him to be president, he will be president. But there's a prior issue, whether he turns out to be president or not. God's using him to bring a necessary polarization between the aristocracy and the people. This polarization has to take place because the average person in this country is so confused that they don't know what's going on. They don't understand what's going on. They don't understand it, and they're confused, and they're just stupefied. They're just standing there. They don't know what to do. Many are giving up in their mind. So right now, today, Donald Trump is being used by God, I believe, to emphasize the two sides and what's going on in this country. The nerve of Eric Erickson of Red State to uninvite the front runner, the Republican candidate with the highest percentage of votes. He uninvited him to that gathering. Who do you think you are? See? So they're going to try and take Donald out in every way. See? In every way they're going to try and take him out. I just pray that God protects him physically and maintains his security and keeps him healthy and alive. Again, I don't know whether he's going to, I don't know. If God wants him to be president, he's going to be president. But I'm not up to that yet. God's using him for something else very, very, very important. The people have to wake up. The people have to wake up. And a lot of them, they're awake in that they know something's wrong, but they just don't get it. The British aristocracy has landed on our shores and has taken over the government. Only they're communists today. Brethren, there has been a coup in our government. It's a communist government. And they're moving in every way they can. You see, the only reason they're not taking over the country now is that the people still have too much power. Did you know that there's a movement on, primarily in the black communities where they're poor, to remove all police from the area? Did you know that?
No.
They want to remove all the police. So their complaint is that there are too many police in these areas. And the police say, well, that's where the crime is. And the solution is, leave the people alone, remove all the police. Brethren, they're not only trying to disarm the citizens, they're trying to destroy the police. First of all, they're starting to destroy the police in the esteem and the estimation of the people. And now there's a movement to remove all police. Does that sound crazy to you? Do you know what de Blasio did in New York City? He put out, I don't think it's an executive order, whatever they call it, in New York City schools, that you cannot discipline a black child. You can discipline a white child, you cannot discipline a black child.
Wow.
So these poor black people are being used in the most malicious way. And their own leaders, they have to know what's going on. Sharpton, Jackson, they're just a part of it. Using their own people in this terrible way. And it was 1 year since Ferguson. Hard to believe it's a whole year since Ferguson. And all of these outsiders, they're not even the black people from the community, are coming and chanting, it's time for war. They want a civil war. It's time for war. It's time for war. So there are powers and forces in this country that the only reason they haven't taken us over yet is that they know that they would be outnumbered. Between the armed citizens, there are militias in the country, and the police. They couldn't do it at this time. So they're chipping away, chipping away, chipping away. And they've got the media in their pocket. But God is still God. See? But we need to know what's going on. Everybody has to do their part. I have a small audience, but I'm telling you all, and whoever God brings in, this will go on the internet. Okay? Whoever God brings in, I'm doing my part with the small audience that I have. There is so much going on. They want to destroy Christianity because Christians are strong in their God. That's why they're bringing in, they want to replace it with Islam. See? And then their plan is, once they replace it with Islam, to destroy Islam. Because all of these pundits, a lot of them are women. They don't want Islam here. They're just using it to take out Christianity. Take Christianity out of the schools, bring Islam into the schools. We're being attacked from like 4 different directions, if not more. And the people have to be, God is going to work for the people. So that's what I have to say to you today. We need to be aware, we need to know the truth. If God gives us an opportunity to speak, speak. Don't make it a crusade. Please don't make it a crusade that you have to go out and tell everybody. Just be moved by the Spirit. Speak to the people He sends to you. See? Don't jeopardize yourself, because brethren, it's an evil day. They're trying to criminalize Christianity. They're trying to make speech like this illegal. Put you in jail for it. See? So don't make yourself stand out, unless if it's for righteousness' sake you do it, but don't go looking for it. That's just your pride. If God brings someone to you, then you speak, and don't speak a lot. Just speak a little bit. Make sure they're responding to you. Don't give them more than they can take so that they throw up on you. But the most important thing is that you hear, that you believe it, that you understand it, that you know what's going on, and let God lay hold of your mind and your consciousness and your thought forms and use them however He wants. So there's a reverse French Revolution going on here. The aristocracy is trying to seize power over the people in the country that God raised up for the people. Okay. Any questions about what I just said? If not, we're going to go on with the message.
You said about ignoring being witchcraft, right? Ignoring somebody?
I said don't. Did I say ignore somebody?
Yeah, they're ignoring Donald Trump.
Oh, yes, that's a form of witchcraft, to just ignore the person.
Did you mention a long time ago the Jewish rabbis that they would do something similar, that they would just ignore an issue? Is that witchcraft in that?
It is.
Okay.
It is. And it was done to me by my pastor. When the Lord pulled me out of that church and gave me a ministry, he would write me letters. He wrote me several letters, completely ignoring that I had a ministry, saying things like the one that comes to mind is, because he knew I had all these infirmities, come back to my church and God will heal you in my church. Well, do you write that to somebody that has their own ministry? Is that what you say to somebody that has their own ministry?
Mm-hmm.
So I answered him at the time, God will heal me in Living Epistles Ministries. And there were other letters that he wrote me where he just completely ignored that I had a ministry. And brethren, people have ignored this ministry for years. Which is actually, it's just the last few years that at least I in my own spirit am overcoming all of the negativity that has come against this ministry, ignoring it and denying the message of it. I mean, my own parents, when God, I can't fault anybody when they saw what I was doing for my job. They were really all upset. They wanted me to get a job. My testimony is my own accountant said, I gave him a tape. He said, "That's nice, but you should get a job." People have been, and a woman who came here, who God sent here, who never came in, said to me at the very beginning, "Sheila, you can't do this." That's what she said to me. Her initials are LS. You know who she is, Mary. She said right to my face, "Sheila, you can't do this." And I looked at her and I said, "But I'm doing it. I am doing it." And she had nothing else to say. And she read a lot of my material and she never came back. However it bothered her, I don't know. She never discussed it with me. So people have been denying who I am. People have been denying this ministry. People have been denying this word. The ministry is 27, 28 years old. I've been denied and marginalized, and it's taken its toll on me, although God has used it to crush the ungodly side of me. But the rejection has been severe. As a matter of fact, Michael Savage said, and I really have to, I love Michael Savage, he's my favorite commentator today, but I have to rebuke what he said here. He said that he didn't know if Donald Trump could take the rejection. He said, this is Michael Savage, who has been, do you know that Michael Savage cannot go into England? He's denied entrance to England like he's a terrorist. And he actually, I heard him say what it was that he said, but I don't remember. And anyway, he said he didn't even say it. He didn't even say it. It was imputed to him that he said it. But even if he said it, it was just something that he said. And he's on a list, he can't get into England. And he said he hired lawyers, and they fought it, and England said, well, we know that it's true that he didn't say it, but we're not taking him off the list. And he claims he's been rejected by the whole talk community. And I know that he doesn't go on Fox News, and I saw somewhere, maybe it was online, an interview, O'Reilly was interviewing him, and O'Reilly gave him a jab, and he came back. So he can't go on Fox News. And I heard him mention that recently, that he doesn't fit their narrative. What does that mean? You only have people that fit your narrative? So he's greatly rejected, Michael Savage. And I believe I heard him say that for his own safety, people in that position, they get their lives threatened. That it sounds to me, without him actually saying it, from the other things that I heard him say, it sounds like he doesn't live with his wife. And because he said something about that he moves every few weeks or every few months he moves, because his life is in danger. So I don't think he lives with his wife, but I think they're not separated as a husband and wife. He just doesn't live with her for her safety. That's my understanding, And so he said, I'm used to this rejection. I've been taking it for years. I've been rejected for years. He's the only talk show host that I know that is completely natural. He's completely uncontrolled. Whatever he believes comes out of his mouth. He's not controlling or censoring anything. All of the others, and I'm not saying good or bad, the others do that. They censor what they say. They pick and choose what they're going to talk about. he looks at the news and he talks about what touches his spirit. And he talks about God. You know, he's Jewish. He totally rejects the religious ritual types and the ultra-Orthodox and all that. Utterly rejects them. He doesn't, I don't think he's against Jesus, but he doesn't know Jesus. And of course he's socially liberal because he doesn't understand. But he says God talks to him. You know, he says God talks to him. I had a meeting with a Kabbalist the other day. What does that mean? He's trying to understand. He's taking spiritual information wherever he can. He's just a totally honest man that's very upset about what's going on in the country today. And that's what he said, that he's used to this rejection. It's been going on for years. But he doesn't know if Donald can tolerate it. Donald has been, he's been everybody's darling. You know, everybody loves him, everybody wants him, everybody's afraid of him, everyone's submitting to him. He has all this money, people like him, you know. He's been accepted, so accepted for his whole life. He doesn't know if Donald can tolerate the rejection. And all of them. So I break any curses that came through that in Jesus' name. And I'm telling you the same thing. If he's God's man, he'll tolerate it. You know? If he's God's man, he'll tolerate it. But that rejection of being marginalized, of being rejected, of being uninvited, of being unnoticed, of being unrecognized, it's absolutely crushing. And if anyone's doing it to their children, it's absolutely crushing. It's the worst thing that you could do to somebody is ignore them. Worst possible thing, to ignore them or tell them that they're not valid or what they're doing is not valid. You know? And then especially we see this happening in history to great artists and to anyone that's coming up with something innovative. From time to time I bring up the man who discovered anesthesia. He was marginalized by by the whole medical community. And so what happens to you is, if you're in that position, is that you don't have any money. So people look at you, you know, because you give it over to your craft or whatever it is that you're doing, whether you're an artist or you're bringing forth the doctrine of Christ. Your whole life is given over to what you're doing, and your income is very small. So people, when the world, they look at you and they say, well, what they're doing is crazy. Look at that crazy art, look at that crazy idea about anesthesia, look at that crazy doctrine. And then you look at them and they're living in a manner which shows that they're not successful in the world, and that gives strength to the person's opinion that this person is invalid. So people who are doing something new, something different, even though it's for the benefit of the world, the ignorant world doesn't recognize it. For the whole time that the ignorant world doesn't recognize it, they suffer. So the Zohar says they suffer for the sins of the world. Okay? But that's a different way of saying they suffer than the church teaching that Jesus was crucified for us. It means they suffer because they're following their creative spirit, and the world hates them for it, because the world is Leviathan. The world hates them for it. So they suffer because the sins of the world are crucifying them in their heart. So, did I answer your question?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, the worst kind of witchcraft, to ignore somebody. And that's why one of the pet peeves I have about the culture today, it really grieves me, is this habit in the culture today. And I encourage all of you to do not do this. Do not do this. If you're a son of God, do not do this. That if you're in some kind of a negotiation with somebody and about a possible event in the future or something like that, and you say, I'll let you know by Tuesday if I can go, and then you can't go, so you just don't call back, and the person's supposed to know that that means you're not going. It's very ungodly. That's what the world is doing today. It's very ungodly. Complete your communication. Call them back and say, I can't go, or I don't want the job, or thank you anyway. Complete your conversation. Complete your communication. Don't do that. Don't ignore people, or don't think that they're not entitled to a response. It was reminding me that there's someone I have to send an email to. I should have responded a long time ago. Don't do that. It's wounding to the soul. It's wounding to the soul. Don't do that to people. Don't copy the ways of the world, because the world is evil today. But complete your communication. Okay? Complete your communication. If someone invites you somewhere and you can't go, they're entitled to an explanation. It's just manners. I can't go because, thank you for inviting me. I can't go because, thank you for inviting me. Complete your communication. Don't be like the world. Don't be like the world. Because wounds on people for no reason, except that you've learned something wrong from the world. So, anything else? Any questions else? We have the whole chapter, Daniel 11. I'll see what I can do with it in a couple of hours. Anyone else? Okay. If not, we'll start the next one.